everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of the Josie Show, the very first ever show for the Friday after show for IRL. I am Josie. I'm the redheaded libertarian on X, and my guest today is Brett. Welcome, Brett.
Yes, hello. I feel like, okay, so I saw that there was another guest planned, and I do apologize, guys. Everybody hates it when you advertise one thing, but then something else happens. But you know what? Stuff comes up, and then when that happens, we just roll with the punches, and we just go with it. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure. This is the thing. So when it comes to inviting people, you just got to learn how to kind of roll with it. And, you know, it's my first day of my new show, and I knew something was going to go wrong.
Always.
And that's just the way it is. You can't have a perfect first show. It'd almost be bad luck if you did. So I'm glad it's nothing technical. And I'm glad that it's just that the guest didn't show up and Brett came in clutch. So appreciate you. Now, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, well, if they're watching on the Discord, they may know because I'm over there on the Timcast Discord. But my name is Brett. I host Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. We cover a lot of things, obviously, as you said, in the pop culture space, in the movie space. But I do also appear on Timcast IRL. And I will be honest, I used to care a lot more about politics. But then when you go and you work for a political company, somehow you just get so drained from it that now I get the benefit of being able to do it once or twice a week and really get my fill. And I would love to hear your take on some of the big stories in the news lately.
We're going to be talking about those psychopaths who killed their who killed their Down syndrome baby, because that's just the most tone deaf thing I think I've ever seen happen. Yeah, I'm a mother. So the fact that, so if anybody missed this, if you live under a rock and you didn't see any of this, I mean, it was covered by like mainstream media picked it up. It's covered by everybody. So it wasn't just like a fringe thing that happened on the internet. So there's this YouTuber, his name's like Nugget McJugger Nuggets or something. I don't know. I have no idea. He's got like 4.7 million followers on YouTube. And his name's Jesse Ridgway. And he and his wife announced their pregnancy and did all the baby the holding up the ultrasound pictures, and they were so excited for their baby. And then they live streamed getting a report that their baby had trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome. And, their devastated video that their baby was going to be imperfect. And, it is sad when stuff like that happens. I mean, why I'm going to get to why this gets to me, but, they did this, and they said in that video that they talked about in this video where they get the news, they say that they had talked about if this ever happens, that they might abort their baby. And that's just, to me, it's just like, just as a mother, that just struck me as chilling. It was probably the most chilling thing I think I've ever heard anybody say. Now I have 3 children, and 2 of them had pretty significant medical issues. One of them happened when I was pregnant with her, and I was told that her head had stopped growing and her brain had stopped growing, and she might not live. And it was from an ultrasound. I didn't have special testing or anything. It was just a routine ultrasound, and I got that news with my baby when I was 20 weeks and was told that I had options. I had options. In Massachusetts, I have options. I didn't want my options, so I told them, to stick where the sun don't shine. And I went back for a follow-up ultrasound, just trying to wrap my head around this. And she was perfect. Everything was perfect. Now, I say perfect. She ended up having some issues later. She had a 30-degree rotation of C1 on C2. It was how she was positioned in my stomach that made her look like her head had stopped growing, but it was the fact that she was tilted. So she needed 8 years of intervention at Shriners Hospital, and she still has like braces and stuff like that. So we still are working through, some of the residual effects of it. But just a beautiful, perfect girl, top of her class, smart, funny, and just the idea that I could have thrown it all away on a bad test, like I would have, but just that people could have. That idea never crossed my mind. So when I see people just kind of nonchalantly be like that, it's horrible. So anyway, these people, they obviously get just destroyed on social media. They should have announced this on Blue Sky, and I'm sure it would have been much differently than announcing on an X where people have souls.
They shouldn't have announced it at all. I mean, that's none of this should have been public in any way, shape, or form. And I think that plays even as much as the abortion itself is unthinkable to so many, especially if you're in conservative circles, and even to a certain extent. I would imagine, given that you're, the redheaded libertarian, that there is also, there is a very strong pro-life argument because of the harm that comes to the child. But then you have to get into the debate about when does personhood begin, and all of that really ends up being a bit superfluous to the larger issue, which is that on that side of social media, they are exposed to people that they're just never coming into contact with, right? So they're and this is something that I experienced growing up. I'm from like St. Paul, Minnesota, so I'm from the suburbs, whatever. But you'd go outside the cities and you'd see pro-life billboards and stuff like that. And it just wasn't a discussion that people had at that time. And I just think that they, on top of monetizing it, which is ghoulish as it is, they weren't aware that there was a vision of, motherhood, or a vision of fatherhood, or a vision of having children that was different from their own. And they have quickly turned themselves into the victims in this situation.
Oh yeah. They're making the show circuit. So they went on TMZ today. TMZ interviewed them. They're like, we've seen the darkest parts of humanity. It's like, yeah, Ashley, me too, Ashley. I've seen the darkest parts of humanity, Ashley, seeing what she is, what she's done. And the way that they announced this, they're like, our unborn baby. So they have already set personhood to this baby that they've killed, and people argue with me like, oh, you're a libertarian, you're against abortion. I'm like, yeah, abortion is the biggest contradiction to libertarianism that exists. It is a massive violation of the non-aggression principle. You're killing somebody. It's violent, and it's for the person who can be the least aggressive on earth, a baby, an unborn baby. They are innocent. And then people are like, well, what about self-ownership? Well, self-ownership comes with personal responsibility and accountability. Mm-hmm. And you are anemic of those two things if you can't own yourself without having accountability. And then for third, a baby is not a piece of your property that you can do with what you please. You know who believed that people were property? People who had slaves. And the argument that abortion, or the argument that abortion is okay, is the same argument for slavery, that slavery was okay. It belongs to me. I can do with it what I want. It's not a person.
Can I ask you a question? So one of the things that I find the most interesting about this is when a mother is murdered while pregnant, that will end up being double homicide. And my guess is that if the mom said, if the family said, well, she was about to abort her baby, so I guess don't count the second child as the second set of the circumstances for murder. I don't think anybody agrees with that. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And then when people make the argument about personhood, they try to boil it down to a scientific theory. But when people die in a plane crash, the law firms that pay out to the families of those that die oftentimes do that based on the potential future earnings of what a person would have made in their lifetime had they still been, had they survived the plane crash. Well, what was that child capable of achieving? What was that child capable of accomplishing? Obviously it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but it just feels like people aren't willing to have those discussions, because I think that most people boil the pro-life movement down to a religious argument when that's not always the case.
They have a net worth of $11 million, so they had the means to take care of this baby. They just don't want to. I think that they wanted a designer baby and they didn't get one,
But adoption is an option, and from what I understand, there are wait lists of families that are willing to adopt children that have Down syndrome. The thing is, depending on how uncharitable you want to be towards them, then they can't make money off of the endless posts, because if there's no way you can do 9 months of look at our baby, look at our baby, look at our baby, if it's not going to continue to be part of your family afterwards, in which case you'd be monetizing it further. So they're cutting their losses because it's no longer a viable revenue stream.
These people too, okay, it just gets darker. So they had a dog that was sick, a 5 or 6 year old dog that was sick. And this dog needed a kidney out, and then it needed the other kidney out, and it lived. They spared no expense on this very sick dog to make him live on a dog. And, I love dogs. I have one. I have cats. I have a dog. And they do feel like family, but they had a human baby. And they just cut their losses with their human baby, sparing no expense. Now, their dog lives with no kidneys. Their dog is a miracle to the world that lives with no kidneys. And he was calling the dog his superhero. And I'm just like, your baby could have been your superhero, dude. Like, just no priorities, just a lot of narcissism, a lot of optics. I think Down syndrome babies are the cutest things in the world. They're so cute. They're so happy. They're just so full of love and God and joy. But they probably were like, well, this isn't going to be, a baby that's going to be, traditional, and somebody that they probably were going to think the baby was ugly. That's just the feeling that it got. This was all about optics. And I disagree strongly with that, but the whole thing feels like optics. It wasn't going to be a perfect baby. It was a baby until it was disabled.
I don't even think it's about necessarily how the baby looks. I think that they have a specific life that's going to entail a specific amount of work that they're willing to put in. And when they found out that their life was possibly not going to be that, well, then they chose a different path. And I do believe that there's a lot of people who would be a lot more charitable to this situation if it wasn't for the grossness of the fact that they decided to make all of this public and monetize it. And a lot of people believe that this could be a hoax, given the nature of their channel.
Yes. That's the other thing that's been brought up too, is that their nature of their channel is kind of lying about things. But if you were to lie about something of this nature, okay, and there's something that, all right. So when you watch the video of them finding out whether or not they really did, we don't know, finding out that their baby is sick. And at one point, the woman, she's crying, and then she looks up totally plain-faced at the camera. And then it's like she catches her own attention, and then she starts crying again. So it's almost like she caught herself and was like, I don't look sad right now, and like switched it. It was sociopathy. It creeped me out. So yes, but the fact that their whole channel has been kind of based around making things up, now people are wondering, like, did you lie about this to try to get attention? Yeah, just scary and gross stuff. What are your final thoughts on this, Brett?
I guess for me, the biggest thing for me is, like, I'm so jaded because of the nature of the internet and how nothing really feels tangible or real anymore. And I think that happens a lot, probably to us and also to anybody who's watching this. If you're watching this on Discord, you're plugged in, you spend a lot of time online, you know what's going on in the culture, and it's just become increasingly true every day. I actually made the comparison on our show today. I said, the weird thing is like, professional wrestling fell off because everybody can now tell that it's fake, and there's no such thing as kayfabe anymore, for a lack of a better term. But in the real world now, there is no like kayfabe is like a real thing. Like, nobody knows what is real, nobody knows what is fake. There's a way to monetize absolutely anything if you're underhanded enough to do so. And then you see this type of story and you wonder, like, how much of this is just a perfect storm of the worst person making the most duplicitous and self-centered decision that they could possibly make, and how much of that is real. And that's really, really sad to me.
No, I understand. I would love to bring some of our Discord chat up for a conversation if you guys want to add in anything, or you want to bring up another story that's going on in the news. Now's your time to kind of chill out and talk to us.
What did they talk about on IRL other than the football stuff, other than the Bears?
Yeah, I just caught the last 30 minutes of it today, so I'm not entirely sure.
Are they still going to be called the Chicago Bears, even though they're leaving the state? I would love to know.
Yeah, where are they? Where's their stadium going to be now?
I don't. What's like the next state over? Do you know what?
Yeah, I mean,
Hammond?
don't the New York Jets play in New Jersey?
Indiana? That's rough, man.
Yeah,
That's rough.
I'm guessing they're just going to stay the Chicago Bears because like I said, the New York Jets, I think they play in New Jersey. So I think that
you know,
whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So if anybody is interested in asking questions, you can go ahead and ask to be a speaker. I haven't seen any more comments come up on the side, so I'm still looking forward to how to read
anything.
those.
If there was anything in the news that was not caught today.
Oh yeah. Oh, let me see. That was like my big topic.
Oh yeah. That story like broke containment, and even the normal people, the regular people, are hearing about that.
By that, yeah. Let me see. Let's check.
I got a question for you. What is the libertarian argument that somebody who disagrees with you would make if you were to steel man their position? Like, what is the argument that they would make for abortion?
For abortion, that's a great question. They would say that I can do what I want because I own my own body. And if I decide I don't want to carry a baby in that body, then I don't have to. And to which my argument is, yeah, you own your body, but there's also a body within your body that you don't own because slavery is illegal. We don't do that anymore since the 13th Amendment. But when it comes to being a mother and taking care of your child, you don't have the right to kill your child. And under no circumstances do you have the right to kill your child. If your child is sick, it's your custodial duty to take care of that child, And so that's where like even things like transing kids gets foggy because it's like, well, the parent is making the decision. It's like, well, yeah, but 60% of parents who make that decision are mentally ill. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of, it's why when it comes to a libertarian utopia, you can't really have one. You need sort of like a Christian moral framework, just like the founding fathers declared that they needed for America to work. And that's the same thing. But that's where a lot of libertarians get away from that. And they're like, no, we can't have any rulers, even a God. And that's where it gets sloppy because you need to have the same moral code as the people that you're around or your society collapses. And that's what we're seeing happen now in America is we don't share a moral code anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we no longer live in a monolithic society. Like we really don't have a monoculture the way that we used to. And I got into a bit of a debate with some people about I'm not necessarily it's like when people romanticize Blockbuster Video and they romanticize Pizza Hut. I say no. I was like, you've picked two corporate entities that represent a larger idea of a shared view of America. You don't miss Blockbuster Video. Now, people are like, yes, I did. I rented movies every weekend. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying what you miss was the fact that you had family, was the fact that you had friends that you got to spend time with, that you lived in a carefree world, and for the most part, that you lived a life outside of politics. Nowadays, that seems to be more and more the case where I feel like people don't yearn for these specific things. What they yearn for is a world before they knew politics was the culture of the day.
Yes. No, you're exactly correct. Everything moved slower. Everything was quieter. It was less stressful. It was the pace of the world was slower. And we don't have that anymore. So that's what people do miss. I do like that. I do like that observation. I think that's really, really smart.
We're doing it? Okay. We're bringing people up on stage.
I love it. Come on up, homies.
Who do we got first, Olivia?
You guys are welcome to turn your cameras on. I do like to look at you, even though on my camera, I only have one camera, so I have to use it on Riverside side of this, but maybe someday we'll figure out how to do both. So
I don't want to turn my camera on, so
that's okay.
I'm shy.
That's okay, homie. What's up?
So you guys were talking about like kayfabe going away, or the idea of history in general.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is some way to kind of recapture that in the age that we're in now? You see like AI and all this stuff giving people these instructions to build things and go do all of this it can aggregate information so quickly that anybody can have access to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to get back to the wonderment and joy that you just kind of have in the world, like being tricked by a magician, or feeling the excitement of a brand new match happening in wrestling if you're going to do cake?
Yeah, I think we just have to touch grass. We just have to unplug, touch grass. I mean, my kids, they're largely outdoor kids. And so they grew up riding their bikes and doing all of that. And they got to have that childhood where they got dirty and, played with the neighborhood kids and all of that. And that's kind of the American dream when it comes to having children. So, you can't take their devices away altogether, because otherwise it's going to put them behind in life for their generation. And it's just like our generation didn't need it, their generation does. So I wouldn't let them never touch one, because that's going to be detrimental to them. Mm-hmm. But limit that as much as you can, realistically limit it as much as you can, make them play outside, put them on a limit of an hour a day or whatever, but let them find their creativity. The best thing we can do is let our kids be bored. And even as an adult, just anytime I get to put my phone down is just wonderful to me, because I work online, so, and I'm sure that you get that too, Brett. It can be hard, because we have to keep up with the news, or you have to keep up with the current events and that sort of thing, and it can be hard to put your phone down, only because we're conditioned to not want to miss something, because that can be detrimental to us. Mm-hmm. But family comes first. You only have 18 summers with your kids, so just touching grass, and that's all it is. It's just put the phone down and go outside, and you get that life back.
I think you get the relationship life back that way. That's fantastic. And I have 4 kids. I love it. Mm-hmm. You have great times off the screens doing all sorts of stuff. But I mean, just that idea of this brand new thing happening that everybody's looking at, like a David Blaine moment or something like that, where somebody just does this incredible thing. It doesn't feel like we have that in this generation.
I feel like the next time we're going to have that is when Jesus comes back and have it's AI. Yeah, just something miraculous. It'll honestly probably be the next big thing with AI. Wow, I can't believe that they did that. That's probably going to be the next time that happens.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Are we going to have more speakers?
Who do we got next? Stork.
No, no questions. No people asking questions. None of that's going on here, Jersey. We don't do that here. Questions are not allowed. There's another popular person out there. She likes asking questions, but we don't do questions here.
Asking questions is anti-Semitic. Simple.
The last time I checked. But yeah, no. I was just curious. How do you feel about Lego?
Lego, the building blocks?
Yeah, the building.
I loved Lego growing up and all that, and I saw that they just came out with a Catholic church cathedral that's $700 to buy. Yeah. But it's 28,000 pieces or something like that, and it's beautiful. It's beautifully designed. I always liked Lego. I always had them. Always liked them. Stepped on them as a mom.
Olivia loves Legos more, a lot. She loves putting together Lego sets. This office on the outside of this, my workspace here is full of Lego builds and things in the other rooms. So I can't say that I'm the biggest Lego fan, but I do love them because it means I always know what to get my wife for gifts when it's time to get her gifts.
Okay, chat, real quick. How far down the rabbit hole of this bricks and minifigs do I go in this question? Give me a 1 if it's a little bit. Give me a 2 if you want me to go deep on this. 11. I've got an 11 out of 5. It's 1. Don't go too deep. All right, Josie.
Yes.
Have you heard about the bricks and minifig story?
The bricks and what?
Minifig story.
The stolen Legos. The company that robbed this poor old man and his son of several $100,000 worth of Lego sets that they sent them, or that they gave them on consignment to sell. It's a crazy story.
Wow.
So One of the questions that I specifically want to ask you as a more libertarian-minded individual in this whole thing, okay, is because the police were involved with this at several stages through the whole story, both kind of in how do I want to say, good faith and not in good faith, potentially, because of how bad this story gets. Do you believe that police should be forced to actually uphold the law when it's clear, or you have clear proof and evidence that someone is breaking the law? Do you believe that police should be mandated by some sort of duty, or do you still feel that they should have the discretion of inaction?
From a libertarian perspective, because libertarianism is a spectrum. So I'm a minarchist, and minarchists believe that government is okay for when it comes to defense, police, and justice. So, it's like, all right, well, if we're paying the police to do this as a libertarian, we're paying the police to do their job, they should be doing their job. But a more anarchist would be like, hell no, abolish the police, ACAB. So yeah, it could go either way depending on what kind of a libertarian you ask.
Also, could you rephrase the way you said that, please?
I'm
curious what he means by forced to enforce the law. Who would do that?
I have, in the last couple of years, been kind of, I guess about a year now, I've been kind of wrapped up in this idea of, if we have laws to prevent something specific, okay, like, I actually have been dealing with something here locally. There's a plant who built their plant basically right next to a residential zone, and they operate sometimes at 4 a.m. in the morning, and a couple of other things that they do. And they were mandated when they built the little kind of processing facility to put up a sound wall to block the sound. But the city has decided, even though that it was in the building permits, not to do it. That they just weren't required.
Oh, homie, I got a question for you. Are you going to build a killdozer?
No, but funny enough, Josie, I'll tell you what. I have the show coming on right after you on Timcast, and I'll tell you what. I am going to spoil what it is that I've got tonight for that image right over here in the side chat. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a beautiful Killdozer Lego figurine there, guys.
Oh, wow.
No, I am not. I'm not. I do celebrate Killdozer Day, but no.
Yes. Killdozer Day and 19th Amendment Day are the same day, and we can only choose one.
Was that just the other day? Killdozer Day?
Yeah, June 4th.
June 4th, yeah.
Yeah, no. So, no, I'm not saying I'm going to, but the city has chosen to not take action, and they've chosen not to take action on any of that stuff. And in this story, with the Lego situation, they had proof. They were shown the contract. They had video evidence that these people had stolen the Legos, all of those things. And the police just said, this is a civil matter, I don't want to get involved. But clearly, theft had taken place.
Yes, that's theft. It's a property rights violation. Yes, I would have the police go in and do their job, especially if because there's a property rights violation there for you, and then there's a contract violation on top of that. So it doesn't matter if it's a civil matter. Those are tried at court all the time. Oh,
yeah. There's something called the writ of mandamus, which I brought up back in the culture war, way back at the first one, which is mandating, essentially, that you sue the city for a mandate to go enforce the law, which is what that is.
Yep.
But especially in a small town situation, because I currently live in a small town, there's really only one judge that's going to adjudicate this, and he's just going to throw it out. So there are literally situations in small towns all across America, including this Lego story, which, by the way, I know the video is long, but Olivia can give you timestamps. Go watch 5 minutes of this video, and then you're going to want to rewind and watch the whole thing. But it's a crazy story, and in these kinds of situations, it really would cost them more money than the Lego sets are worth to actually go through the entire legal process of getting something done. It would cost me probably the cost of my house to sue the city and go through all of the steps to actually take care of this problem.
Yeah, sometimes the process is the penalty.
Yeah. And that's the thing, the penalty, the barrier to getting anything done is too high. And so I don't think our current system is built for actually achieving justice for small time people in towns.
Yeah, well, the way to do that is a bottom up approach. You got to get yourself into a position to have power in that little town. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I can run for office. That's only going to cost a couple of $100,000.
It sucks that money is behind every election.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is if the problem is I don't have enough money to sue the city to force them to do anything, you're telling me the answer is for me to have enough money to run for office.
Well, that's where you got to get it. You got to get some donors in there who are like, you know what? I have money and I need my back scratched. You got to scratch my back too. See how dirty it gets? See how quick it gets dirty when money gets involved?
Even at the local level.
Dirty. Oh yeah.
We're literally talking about the most basic.
Yep. Local level, there have some zoning issues or something. Like you gotta take care of these for me if I pay you money. Yeah. So dirty, so fast. But you are a reasonable man, and I don't believe you will do unreasonable things.
I won't. Although sometimes reasonable men are driven.
Sometimes reasonable men are driven to do unreasonable things. You got that right. All right. Thank you so much for your comment and your discussion on the Legos. I'm a fan.
Seriously.
You should look into that story, Josie. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, for sure.
And the more you look into it, the wilder it gets, including the Mormon Mafia lawsuits. The lady who originally owned the franchise apparently was fleeing the country because of Trump arrangements.
It's people in small towns. They're big fish in a small pond, and so they all think they're the most important person in the world. No joke, okay? The place that I grew up, I'm not going to give my exact town, but the town over from me, okay? There is a guy in that town who has single-handedly fought a Walmart being built in that town for 25 years, okay? In that time, that town has crumbled. The main street is all empty buildings now because everybody's leaving town to shop. So they wanted to put a Walmart on like the edge of town just so people would still do their Christmas shopping and everything in town, because you spend money in one town, you're going to spend it all there. But now everybody's going, 30 minutes away to the nearest Walmart. So for 25 years, he's fought this. And so finally, the town makes this agreement with everybody in the town agrees. Like, okay, we're going to build a Walmart because our town is going to fail if we don't get some sort of income coming in here. And we're also going to build a library. He fought that too, and he won. So now, despite everybody agreeing that there needs to be a Walmart, they got the library, but they never got the Walmart. So anyway, 25 years, this guy has been fighting a Walmart. And The Atlantic did a story on him once.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Penn and Teller did a story on him because he's just people who are big fish in small ponds. That's their purpose.
Like the head of an HOA, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, well, HOAs have their own wonderful collection of problems, but I'm not going to take up too much of your time. It was nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you too. Do we have another guest?
Olivia's going to come join there. Here we go.
I love it. Come on in, Olivia. You can turn your camera on or not.
Okay, I can't hear you, but I am going to tell you right now on the topic of HOAs. Brett was an ardent HOA defender today on PCC, and I just need you as a woman of sound judgment to tell Brett why he is wrong.
Okay, first of all, she's straw-manning my argument. My argument was that you as an individual should have a right to seek out an HOA if you so desire. If you put a premium on the need for your lawn to be a certain side, you want all the houses to be the same color, and you want to know that the street lights are going to get fixed by somebody that's not the city. They're going to fix the potholes. They're going to plow the snow faster than the city would if they did that. If you've got the money and the inclination to do that, you have a right to do so, even if everybody hates HOA Karens, which obviously I understand. But my point was more just that, like, if you're entering into a contract, you're doing so of free will. Now, yes, those contracts oftentimes end up being adjudicated. There's all sorts of issues with that because of the way that laws change there. But there are heads of HOAs the same way that there are heads of your local small town, except for this time you're opting into it. That's all I was saying. We would never move to an HOA.
Yeah, it's a voluntary contract. I signed into a voluntary contract in my HOA, and I have never seen these people or heard from these people in my life.
Never done anything for you?
nothing. They've never anything. And there was, you know, when I first moved here, trying to get situated and stuff, there were times when I knew my lawn was probably not perfect. And nope, never heard a word from them. The only issue with that is if you have a hoa that's kind of an absent hoa and you're paying an arm and a leg and they're not fixing the potholes, you notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does take longer for that stuff to happen. And sometimes they'll take on something stupid and like that'll be the only thing that they handle. So my hoa is, I live in a big community, and so there's several hoas throughout the community. Mm-hmm. So this isn't my hoa, but another hoa was like, you know what we need? We need to spend $50,000 on locks for the dog park.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, I beg your pardon? Like, excuse me? So, and that just became their thing. So, you know, it's a lot about priorities. Hoas are not my favorite. It was my first ever hoa, and I would rather them leave me alone and take a little longer to fix a pothole than be, you know, bringing a ruler onto my lawn to measure my grass.
Did you see that story, like that video that was going viral the other day of this lady's like, yeah, if like, I don't care if it's your own private residence, if you've got a pool, my kids are going to use it this summer. And I was like, you are a bad person. Like, you're just a bad person. Like, yeah, absolutely.
People are so entitled nowadays. It's ridiculous.
This story came up because we Olivia does cat sitting at like a local, you know, for like a family out here. We live in a town where there's like where we live, which is in like the town center. I love where we live because it's well lit, so I can go run at night and all that stuff. But there's also like these really nice homes that were built on like a development upwind, and they've got every time I walk around there, I said I feel like I'm going to get yelled at by some type of HOA Karen because I don't look.
Oh, your mic cut out, honey. Okay, well, I guess we're like 3 minutes from ending anyway, so I can wrap. I'm going to try to unmute you and see if that fixed anything, Brett. I don't think it did, but we don't know. Nope. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened. This never happened before.
We do have one last caller before you wrap. If you want, I think you'll want to take this one.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring the tea for you, Josie. Are you there?
I am here. Hello.
Hi, I'm Eve. Nice to meet you.
Hi, okay. Nice to meet you.
I don't know if you're aware about the Piers Morgan episode today with Lauren Southern and Andrew Wilson debating.
God, okay. So you can go ahead, tell everybody about what happened in that, and then I'll add my part.
So, okay, I don't know what side you fall on with all of this. This is just a bizarre situation, but there was an argument about what a traditionalist is, and Andrew Wilson was looking for examples of people who met the definition that Lauren Southern provided, which was like people who want to go back to the 1950s and like, I don't know, wear house dresses and bake pies and be all cute and you know, whatever, roll their hair. No, she didn't go that specific, but you get the gist. Whereas he was making the argument, I think, that a traditionalist is someone who, God, how did he put it? It was more value-based, about a hierarchy, right? And he was like, give me examples in true Andrew Wilson fashion, and she just says the redheaded libertarian, and I nearly died.
Oh my gosh! Yes. Okay. So I'm watching through this because she was not giving him a name. She was refusing to give him a name the whole time. And then she goes, the redheaded libertarian, and I'm just like, I have a job, I have a career. Like, what are you talking about? Would it be nice? Like, is it because I bake pies? I don't know. I'm an award-winning pie baker. I have 4 blue ribbons, okay? Yes, I do bake pies.
They are beautiful. I have seen them. They're very nice.
I appreciate that. So, yes, okay, so I do bake pies. And I like to wear dresses. These are very true things. And then she brings up, she's like, well, she wants the 19th Amendment abolished. And I'm like, okay, this is true, but let me clear a few things up with this. There was a 19th Amendment in the 1950s, so that's a totally different argument. And then 2, I'm a states' rights libertarian. So I just want it put back the way that James Madison wanted it, which was to give voting to the states. That's all. I just want to put it back. That's it. But that means abolishing the 19th Amendment, and then women lose their minds over that. And then, you know, we get a bunch of Muslims invading our country because of suicidal empathy. But I digress. But it was crazy. It was crazy that I was the person. And even Andrew Wilson, who doesn't even like me all that much, was like, What? Yeah, that was crazy.
I thought it was also interesting that on top of that, she paired you in. Now, granted, like you're very closely connected to TimCast, but for her to say like, and like on every TimCast episode, they talk about like
we're always making fun of the 19th Amendment.
About?
Yes, Tim and I. There's a whole episode of Tim and I making fun of the 19th Amendment, and it's a lot. It's tongue in cheek. He'll just be like, "Well, this is why." Like something would be said that was totally arbitrary, and Tim would be like, "Well, that's why we got to abolish the 19th Amendment." Totally deadpanned. And I guess she thought it was serious. But yeah, that's it. Brett, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
Thought, I guess.
Okay, like, yeah, I guess me and Myron Gaines and Andrew Tate are all just best friends, and we just go hang out, I guess. Yeah, that was very strange. And I don't have any issues with Lauren Southern at all, so I thought that was very strange. But, and she even said at one point, she's like, I don't have any issues with any of these people. And it's like, you kind of threw me under the bus, girl, but you know, it's like, I get it. She needed a name. I'll take the name. I was in a pie calendar and like in a dress and looked, you know, wholesome. I'll do it.
For what it's worth, I'll give her credit in terms of like the debate, because I like Andrew Wilson as a debater. I think he's pretty skilled, but he has this habit of just like doubling, tripling down, like give me example. And as she said, she's like, I gave you like 4 people. What do you want from me?
I think he wanted an example.
I tend to agree with him.
Yeah, I think he was looking for like an example of his idea of what trad was.
Yeah.
You know, and she wasn't giving that. I think they were kind of missing. There were 2 boats that were crossing in the dark, or however that phrase goes.
Just my guilty pleasure. I watched it today and I nearly died laughing. I was like, I had to come in here tonight.
I got tagged in that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, here I am working at my career and being called the trad person. No, it's just that I make pies. And you know what? And that's okay. I think all women should make pies. That's just me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Just making sure. Yeah, the funny me and Mary get into this topic all the time about you know what does that word even mean anymore, and some people would actually point out that they don't necessarily have a problem with the hypocrisy, say, of like a Megyn Kelly saying that putting motherhood first and all these things when she's very clearly a very successful businesswoman. And there's a certain level of who is the messenger that you should take into account when you're following in politics and stuff like that. It's not always necessarily that they're going to share the same values as you, or that they're going to live the values, but you do have to be willing to make a distinction to yourself. Be like, okay, they don't necessarily live up to it, but is what they're saying good? Is the advice they're giving me good advice? But the problem is most people don't want to hear it unless they're getting that advice from somebody who lives the life that they're talking about.
Yes, exactly. And I know that Andrew and Rachel, they don't believe themselves to be trad. And I think that she thought she was arguing with somebody who did. And there's a lot of miscommunication, like with the whole thing about libertarians. Like that we just had that discussion, and they're different too. There's different kinds of trads. There's different kinds of libertarian. Everything is a spectrum. And we're probably all on the spectrum as conservative people who watch TimCast, to be honest. Olivia, I was just noticing that there was a comment that came up on the side of the screen there. I'm just learning how Discord works.
Yes.
Is there a way to see those comments? All right, there we go. Okay, so I have worked with Angel Studios for 3 years. And when they released their movie, the Animal Farm movie, I hadn't seen it yet. So I posted that I was wondering how close it related to the book. That was my post. Now, I was not paid for that. I had done originally a paid promo because that's how I've always done it with them. Mm-hmm. But I never got money. I never accepted money because when I found out after that it didn't relate to the book, I talked to my boss, Tim, and I said, this doesn't relate to the book. Or he said, this doesn't relate to the book. I'm like, okay. So I declined getting paid for it because I didn't want to see it anymore and I didn't want to get paid for it. So I hope that's
before you get into all of that, I saw one thing that might be helpful before we get into all of that. is that it might be helpful to give people maybe a breakdown of like, because I saw people when these discussions are going on about how it works for influencers when they're part of these programs. Do you want to give it like a
Sure.
maybe like a timeline of how it works?
Yeah. So when you do a paid post, you are you're given criteria that you're supposed to meet. One of those criteria is that you leave the tweet up. You can't take the tweet down. So I broke the terms when I pulled my tweet down because I didn't want to get paid for it. I talked directly to Jeff Harmon and said I didn't want to get paid for it. Yeah, I didn't meet the terms, so I never got paid for it. And that's the thing. So once you do the tweet and you meet the terms, they go through each person, they go through each checklist to make sure that they met the terms. A lot of times it'll be you have to get a certain amount of impressions or a certain amount of likes. They'll have terms like that. This one was simply leaving the tweet up, and I did not.
So in other words, you endorsed it without actually watching it.
No.
And it wasn't until Tim told you so that you rescinded that endorsement.
But is the language of the tweet? I don't have it in front of me. But if the language of the tweet says she's curious to see how it turns out, then that's that. I guess if your idea here is the idea here that the endorsement is the paid partner part, which is just part of how these things work. But otherwise, she said she didn't say I love this movie, it's great. She said I'm looking forward to see how it follows the book. You could just be under a difference of opinion on what that entails. But she's been pretty forthcoming about what she believes. She doesn't believe that she's saying that she endorsed the book. She's saying that she's looking forward to seeing how it turned out. And then,
and I
obviously
was informed how it turned out. And I said, well, that sucks. And I pulled my tweet down. Yeah. So there was no positive endorsement of the movie. I didn't see it.
Why would you even tweet about it if you hadn't had the opportunity to screen it prior?
Why? This was during
their campaign market.
Yes.
You came out and gave. I understand we can argue semantics about whether or not it was an endorsement.
It wasn't.
At one point in time, Tim even called you out on it, right?
No.
And I'm not attacking you because honestly, Josie, I follow you and I love 99.9% of what you put out, but I can't hold anybody else accountable if we don't hold ourselves accountable.
Well, I'm being as transparent as I can. I never endorsed the movie because I did not see the movie. I said I like the book and I'm interested to see how the movie will do. I also said I worked with them for 3 years. I was the main promoter behind Cabrini, the movie about the saint, which is one that I did watch and that I did love, and I recommend everybody sees Cabrini. I can't wait to see Young Washington, not paid to say that. I really can't. I was invited to go out to Ireland and watch them film that movie. I've worked with Angel Studios for a long time. They've never done anything that's given me any reason to doubt them, ever, until now. Except this time. And I had no idea. I didn't watch the movie. All I said is I'm looking forward to seeing how it follows the book. Never watched the movie, didn't take money for it. None of that. A lot of things, but not having integrity is not one of them. So.
And I did not question your integrity. I just called out what I understood to be the situation.
There's a lot of moving parts to paid endorsements that people don't understand. And
but here's the whole problem. Mm-hmm. When you go out and you endorse something without actually watching it, and you tell your followers that it's okay, that this is good, so on and so forth. And I understand maybe there was some miscommunication there, right?
Yeah, I had no idea. I wasn't following any of this. Like, I guess Tim had been talking about it, and I'm like, okay, Tim didn't like the movie, whatever. Like, I'm not following this. Like, people. I draw my own conclusions. I hadn't seen the movie, and I made it clear that I hadn't seen the movie, and I was looking forward to seeing it at the time, and that's the honest to goodness truth. But now, I wasn't.
And I believe you. Like I said, Josie, I follow you, but I can't, in good conscience, I can't talk smack to these leftists, these people that I truly believe are trying to bring America down, if we don't hold our own accountable. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And I appreciate your response. Thank you.
People tried to ruin me over that. I'm very, very aware. And this is something like the movie wasn't even out yet. And there were influencers that lied and said that they watched the movie, and I was not one of them. I said I like the book, and I do. I like the book. I got it in my bookcase right here. I like the book.
In general, I try to tell people, because this is this is something that we deal with in the space all the time, because most of my industry is about people talking about whether they like. I literally never endorse any movies. I say, this is what I thought of the movie. And if you've taken the time to watch my reviews in the past and they've lined up with your sensibilities, then maybe take the risk and go see it. But you can never tell what a person's taste is. So I'm never just like, yeah, go see it. Because for all I know, I mean, most of the time I like a bunch of stuff that people today hate, right? So I don't even tell them, like, look, I liked it. If you didn't, go see it. I actually wanted to go see Animal Farm, and I was hoping that I would like it so I could ironically push back, but I never got around to going to see it.
I never saw it because it was just not for me. Because Tim, when I reached out to Tim never called me out on anything. That I don't know where that came from, but I reached out to Tim about it, and I reached out to Jeff Harmon about it, the guy who owns the company. I reached out to both of them, and I was like, "What's going on?" So I got Jeff Harmon's side and I got Tim's side, and I still like Angel Studios. I think that they're never going to mess up like that again.
They continued that marketing campaign in earnest afterwards, pushing back. Like, they're going to have to.
They had to try.
Yes. Right now, the Young Washington marketing campaign has to be flawless, and they can't afford a mistake like that going forward, because one of the things is, like, people in this space, they're passionate about companies not turning their back on them, because that's what's happened to them with most of pop culture, and a good portion of them will, like, and I don't even consider myself one of those people, like, not to draw it back to this stuff, but for the most part, I give most movies the benefit of the doubt, and I end up liking a hell of a lot more than I dislike. But most people in the space are looking for any reason not to abide. Movies are expensive to go see. They're even more expensive if you want to go and have to pay for every streaming service of the month. These companies can't really afford to be losing people because of bad marketing campaigns. So the hope should be for Angel Studios that they button up for Young Washington and beyond, because you only get so many chances, especially with an insular audience like conservatives who are already kind of on the outs with movies and popular culture.
Yes, and the way that the Angel Guild works, so Angel is just the distributor. The Angel Guild is their group of people who pay to say, yes, I would like this movie to happen. So sometimes they'll see like a short little something about the movie, and they're like, yeah, I want this movie to happen. So the Angel Guild voted and said, we want Animal Farm to happen. And however it was promoted, I'm not sure. So it wasn't Angel that made that call. It was the Angel Guild that made that call. And then the director meets up with the Angel Studios, and they figure out how to work everything out and make it all work. So there's a lot of moving parts to how that happens as well. But no, I never endorsed the movie. I said I liked the book and I'm looking forward to it, and then I wasn't. So I pulled my tweet, never got paid for it or anything like that, because that I was given new information. I considered my new information. So thank you for coming up, Tiny Tree Hands.
Very polite, very respectful.
I appreciate that. It's good to get that clear. I had just people were really somebody threatened to kill me over that. So this is a very serious matter, and there's a lot that people don't understand. So I'm glad that I was able to clear that up and get all that on the record. Well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time tonight. We went a little bit over, but we did start a little bit late too. So I call it even. I hope that this was a good show. I did love talking to everybody, and being able to kind of have this call in. I like that. So, but it was good. I knew that there were going to be a few things that went a little bit awry today. So thank you everybody for kind of hanging tight and believing in the mission. This show will be on most Friday nights. Oh, I do have. So next week, we're not doing a Friday night show because I'm going to be interviewing Marjorie Taylor Greene. So that's actually going to be on Thursday at 1:30. So you'll have to be in the Discord for that. But, I'm sure, Olivia, you can put out some kind of something to remind them of that. So that'll be a little change. The week after that, we're also not going to be in Discord. This was kind of a change, last minute thing. I'd worked my life around Mondays because that's where Spaces with Josie used to be, was Mondays on X, and now it's Fridays on Discord. So the following week, we're going to have a pre-recorded show. But then everything's going to get back to normal, and I have Nick Sorter on with me in the last week of June. So then we're going to be right back into Fridays every week. But we're going to remind you next week to come into the Marjorie Taylor Greene space. I don't know if we'll do a Q&A for that, but that's going to be exciting.
Sounds great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm gonna have you hang out with me for Brett for a minute, and we're just gonna wrap everything over here. But thank you everybody for tuning in on the Discord, and I'll be back on Thursday, which is also my birthday, by the way. So everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless you, and stay free.